So, namaste, everyone. Welcome. We'll begin session. So, we've been reflecting on the release from the ego, synthesis of yoga. And we are towards the end of this chapter. Yeah. So, today, let's see how much we can fathom from these words here. We'll take a little overlap starting from here. This part we although had read but not really reflected upon. Yeah, so if anyone would like to read, please go ahead.
I'll read them. The path of works leads to the realization of the Lord, but here even the Lord is not known. There is only the silent self and Prakriti doing her works. Even as it seems at first, not with truly living entities, but with names and forms existing in the self, but which the self does not admit as real. The soul may go even beyond this realization. It may either rise to the Brahman on the other side of all idea of self, as a void of everything that's here, a void of unnameable peace and extinction of all, even of the Sat, even of that existent which is the impersonal basis of individual or universal personality. Or else it may unite with it as an ineffable that, of which nothing can be said. For the universe and all that is done not even exist in that, but appears to the mind as a dream more unsubstantial than any dream ever seen or imagined. So that even the word dream seems too positive, a thing to express its entire unreality. These experiences are the foundation of that lofty illusionism which takes such firm hold of the human mind in its highest overleapings of itself.
Thank you. This is very interesting actually. I don't know how much we can understand here, but let's see whatever in our little mind we can understand from what is said here. So he says that one reaches a state, and in that state, it's a negation of everything, like an absolute nothingness and stillness. And in that, things are happening. You are undergoing the day-to-day things of life, but it appears like a dream, and even the word dream is a little too positive for that things that are happening. Because जब हम ड्रीम की बात करते हैं, at least something is there, although it just disappears, but you see something, right? You feel something, and maybe you have witnessed a drama through dream. But यहाँ पे ये कहा जा रहा है कि even the word dream is too positive for that kind of illusion, uh, which the normal day-to-day workings of Prakriti may appear in this kind of a state. You know what he says? That the soul may even go beyond this realization. It may either rise to the Brahman on the other side of all idea of self as a void of everything that is there, a void of nameable peace and extinction of all, even of the Sat. Sat usually is said that which is forever existent, that which forever is. So uska bhi void, even of that, extinction of even that. or else it may unite with it as an ineffable that of which nothing can be said. लेकिन जब हम इंटेग्रल योगा की बात करते हैं, again, one may not be able to talk too much about it because these are experiences and not things for philosophical discussion, So without touching that space, it would be just too much philosophization to talk about that. So we would not go into too much discussion. But the thing is that once you have any glimpse or realization of some higher consciousness in integral yoga, you keep coming back. Coming back is very important, so that you don't get just absorbed into some intermediate phase. You have to come back and bring that light. So ascent plus the descent. Who is doing the descent? You are not doing the descent. The higher force is doing the descent. But from our part, what is important is that we ascend, that we do not remain in the lower consciousness. We try to climb up. That's what we are trying to do when we place our attention above our head, above our brain lost consciousness. We are trying to ascend, and then the descent can come down and change the instrumentation of nature. So for practical purposes, for all of us involved here, I feel that especially this paragraph can be too much of a philosophization because we have not touched that space. We are not into that realization. So it would be good if we can just take whatever, if something different may be resonating with somebody else, and that's completely fine. Whatever little we can take for our practical usage, we can focus on that. But just to know that one can reach stages, which also comes in Savitri, that one can reach stages which appear that, oh, this is it. This is it. I have reached, I have arrived. But there is still further going on and on and on. So we can't just reach in one stage and settle down there. Not in this yoga, integral yoga. So in Ashwapati's yoga, in Savitri, which is Sri Aurobindo's yoga, they talk about he shot like an arrow, passing through the field of silence, something like that. So there is a zone of silence, as if that is it. But he also did not stop there. He passed through and goes further. And I think I had mentioned earlier that many people from Ramana Maharishi's ashram would come. There was a constant interchange to Pondicherry, people were coming. And Mother said that those who want peace must go to Ramana Maharishi. But those who want something else and more than peace, they can come here. So again, even to have that realization where you get absolute stillness and silence for the rest of your life, very, very hard to achieve. That's a realization in itself. And yet, that's not the end. There is something greater which is to be done in the yoga of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. So here he talks about there is only the silent self and Prakriti doing her work, even as it seems at first not with truly living entities, but with names and forms existing in the self, but which the self does not admit as real. So मैं हूँ, but it's just like it doesn't matter. So you regard it as an image and let the Prakriti do all the workings with it, but it's not like important. It's just like Prakriti is allowed to do all the work, but rest everything is like surreal. These are happenings which are just happening. Yeah, so these experiences are the foundation of that lofty illusionism which takes such firm hold on the human mind in its highest overleaping of itself. So just like, earlier masters have said, a few masters, Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya. That Brahma is only true, and Jagat, the creation or the material world, it is Mithya, it is an illusion. But that is not, we are going to, it's not the place for us to stop, just considering that an illusion. So Sri Aurobindo, talking about the material world, he takes it as It's a dream, but it's a dream fact. He places relevance on it. So we have to change this only material life that we live. We can't just go into some realization and leave the life that we are living dirty when we come back to it. So when we come back to it, there also the higher light has to shine in each instrumentation of nature's thought, feeling, sensation. They all have to tune into that higher force and higher light. So ye integral yoga, the part which again will come later. So anything if you want to share here, anything that resonated, or maybe you want to share your takeaway from this particular paragraph or these lines, please do.
In art of living, there are different courses. I don't know, I'm talking about 10, 15 years back. In their basic course, there was one exercise in which you would have one partner, like two people, and one person and they had to sit facing each other. And one person just had to question this again and again, that who are you? And the other person had to reply. So as soon as the person would reply that who are you, I would say, okay, I'm Taru. Then the person would say, no, but who are you? And then I would say, no, but who are you? So this had to be done for about 5, 10 minutes. I don't remember. And it was it moves a person, like somebody who hasn't ever thought. So there was a lot of discomfort and weird, confused looks, and yet one had to persistently ask. So again, I think these are some questions that we can stand in front of the mirror and even sometimes do this exercise, that it stirs something, right? Like something that beyond the names, the definitions, the images, the titles. Who are you? But who are you? But who are you? Nice, yeah. And the last part, the last sentence, how even there was this new talk by Alok Da in Hindi, and he was saying that even once, if you have truly felt the presence of mother, that's it. Like, that connection has been established. And Mother also has said, and so many other masters and mystics, that we have to give importance to these experiences that we have had, right? We usually shove them under the carpet or we forget it. Like life seems more real than something that I had touched, something or some feeling that I have had. And they have all again and again said to make that concrete, right? To keep going back to it. And then it will be able to be more present in our lives. So we keep wondering, why does life feel monotonous, or I want to have vacations and day offs and stuff. But these simple things, which are simple, it's just that I'm not habitual to do them. But if I make a practice of putting aside some time or just remembering those things which have given me courage when I needed courage, which showed me the light when I needed light, and we have all had those experiences, they increase in our lives. And देख हम दरवाजा ही नहीं खोलते और फिर बोलते हैं कोई आ ही नहीं रहा, कोई आ ही नहीं रहा. So yes, it's very powerful. Of course, the whole thing, like you said, not what to talk about it, but at least this much we can do, that what has been given to us, shown to us, we keep remembering that, yes, I know it happened.
Yeah, I do remember this art of living activity that I had done as well. And I remember that feeling that came about at that time is um, you break away from all the societal identifications of yourself. So, your name, your profession, your education, and most of it is so much outside rather than inside, is what you realize. And by the time you go on answering, all your ego is bashed away by then, because who are you? Okay, not even this, not even this. So your whole ego and all that that you've been carrying, the baggage, it's all bashed away. And then you suddenly realize either you feel very, very ordinary or you feel you're just like everybody. So it kind of breaks away the barriers and you become one with almost every person in the room. So it was a very a nice activity that they had done. Yeah.
So I think that's what the experience that we have to go back to, that feeling of oneness that we had, because the ego jumps back again. That's the problem. We may have a beautiful, liberating experience once, but if we don't concretize it, what Taru was sharing, to relive it again and again, because we do keep reliving, you know, हम कुछ ना कुछ relive हमेशा कर रहे होते हैं. Either we are reliving our stories and making them concrete, our judgments and opinions and making them concrete, or we relive these moments, what you just shared, both of you, and make them concrete. Otherwise, ego comes back and it captures and gone. मन को मृतक जान के मत कीजिए विश्वास, साधु तब तक भय करे जब तक पिंजर में सांप. And not even these experiences, even realizations which are practical, they can be claimed by the ego consciousness. ऐसी पकड़ है. So that's what I think we have to do, because if उस पकड़ को अगर लूज करना है ना, तो किसी हायर चीज की पकड़ को स्ट्रॉन्ग करना होगा. So what you were sharing in the beginning, that to relive those experiences and make them our reality, concrete reality, rather than what is suffocating, limiting, and not really truly us. Yeah, that becomes a
I'm very glad that you said that because I think we do that, we have that experience, and now I've forgotten that, and I'm again back to myself of, all those identities. And that is why I think a lot of times they, even in Art of Living, they would say, come back at any point to redo the course because and I think even with these sessions that I do, it's always nice to have that repetition, that revision, the reaffirmation of the things that, wonderful things that we have learned, because it's so easy for us to forget that as an experience and then again go back to our original self.
तो तभी तो रिमेम्बरेंस को इतनी इम्पोर्टेंस दी गई है ना. रिमेम्बरेंस, कबीर के अगर आप डालो गूगल पे कबीर सुमिरन, तो देयर इज वन पर्टिकुलर अंग, सुमिरन का अंग. जस्ट लाइक कबीर हैज चेतावनी का अंग, वार्निंग कि भैया खबरदार. तो वैसे एक सुमिरन का अंग है रिमेम्बरेंस. तो ही सेज ऐसे सुमिरन करो, सुमिरन की सुध यो करो जैसे कामी काम, एक पलक बिसरे नहीं निस्दिन आठों जाम. विशेष की सुमिरन की सुध ऐसे होनी चाहिए आपको कि एज इफ यू कांट ब्रीथ विदाउट रिमेम्बरेंस. जस्ट लाइक कामी इज वन हु इज टोटली इन्वॉल्व्ड इन काम, दिस पैशन, एडिक्शन. तो उसको क्या होता है, उसने एक सिगरेट अभी फूकी नहीं, उसको लग रहा है अच्छा मैं जस्ट चेक करूं कि अपनी मेरी कितनी बची है, आज की हो जाएंगी सारी की सारी पूरी, है ना. सो ही इज मोर कंसर्न्ड अबाउट काम कैसे चलेगा, हाउ विल आई बी एबल. आप कहीं जाते हो ट्रैवल पे, आप सबसे ज्यादा दोज ऑफ अस हु आर एडिक्टेड टू एनीथिंग, इट मे बी एनीथिंग, वी चेक अवर लगेज. अच्छा वो सप्लाई है कि नहीं पूरी, बाकी बाद में देखेंगे. टिकट भी कट जाएगी, ब्राइब दे के टिकट भी ले लेंगे, सब कुछ हो जाएगा, बट सप्लाई है कि नहीं पूरी. सो दैट्स व्हाट ही सेज, मतलब व्हाट एन इंटेंसिटी. सुमिरन की सुध यो करो जैसे कामी काम, एक पलक बिसरे नहीं निस्दिन आठों जाम. Otherwise, we are back into those slippery slopes. That's right, Sumiran, what you were sharing, that we keep forgetting. सब भुलक्कड़ है, हम सब रिलेटिव डिग्री ऊपर नीचे, बट भुलक्कड़ सब है. और मैनिपुलेटिव कामों के लिए भुलक्कड़ नहीं है, ये बड़े पते की चीज है. हम बड़े स्पेसिफिकली भुलक्कड़ हैं, जो जरूरी चीज है सिर्फ वो भूलते हैं. जो मन को पसंद है वो नहीं भूलेंगे. कौन सा समोसा कहाँ मिलता है, कौन सा पकोड़ा कहाँ मिलता है, वो स्ट्रीट मरते दम तक याद रहती है. पीपल में हैव brain happenings, deterioration in the brain, and yet the memory is so strong of these desires. आपका दिमाग बिल्कुल काम नहीं कर रहा है, सामने आपके भल्ले पापड़ी आ गई और आप वाह वाह आज तो भल्ले पापड़ी है. यू आर नॉट द सेम पर्सन एनी मोर. पर्सनैलिटी हैज गॉन अवे, विदर्ड अवे, बट भल्ले पापड़ी की कंडीशनिंग नहीं गई। ऐसे ही हमारी कंडीशनिंग है। तो द थिंग इज दैट वी कैन ऑल्सो यूज दिस अपॉर्चुनिटी एंड गिव अवर सेल्फ दोज कंडीशनिंग which we carry not only in this life but the other, beyond life also. Because this bhalle papdi we are going to carry. Do you want to carry bhalle papdi or something else? Really strange how much we carry forward. So, but we have to choose now what I want to carry forward. Mother talks about this people, like who have passed on. Many experiences we had shared earlier. जैसे एक बंदी है, वो कॉफी के बारे में हमेशा कंप्लेन करती रहती थी कि ठीक नहीं बनी है, चीनी कम है, जो भी है ना, वो चली गई, लेफ्ट द बॉडी, एंड मदर सेज दैट शी seated on the sofa and still complaining about the coffee after the left body has been left, when the being scatters.
I think
Yes, sir.
26 years after passing, once when even in the book
Bata.
Life Beyond Death by Swami I don't know, I forgotten, whatever. So there he had shared that once he had
Abhedanand.
Abhedanand, thank you. Who would have thought कि ये दिन भी देखना पड़ेगा, but yes. So yeah, so once when he was in a trance or something, so he saw that lady sitting exactly where she should be sitting and saying the same things when she saw him. You see, the coffee here is horrible, like so, so shocking, so shocking. And on the same lines, my wake-up call for this was that once I had went with somebody to a old age home, and like that old age home was for the people who were like nearing death, like very kind of serious, very old. The lady who in Vrindavan who could not even go out to kind of, because in Vrindavan you go out, you sing in mandirs for 2 hours morning, 2 hour evening, and you get some rice and dal. That's your reward for singing. So they did not even have that energy to do that anymore. And there, that person told, the management, ki if I could give them something, like what would they want? Just tell me, you can ask them, and I would make sure that I can provide for that. And they could ask for anything, and they asked for, us gali se wo kachori mangwa do. In a consensus, they spoke to that person. So it was really shocking that they could have asked for anything and they asked for that, and they were quite content with that asking, like as if they did good. So yeah, so lots of examples.
Yeah. So this is what I think again reminds us that what we have to do while we are alive. As Kabirji says, to die before you die. To die to our desires, to die to our thirst for all these addictive things which no matter how much we take in and consume, we never will be satiated. तो अगर थर्स्ट रखनी है तो उस एक की थर्स्ट रखी जाए जो एक्चुअली में क्वेंच हो सकती है जहाँ पे, uplift that quench and thirst and take it to the ultimate. And mother also shares that how desired when the being gets scattered. Those of us who don't unify, who don't practice while they are alive, they don't practice to unify their being and being truly an individual. When they leave the body, the being gets scattered into different pieces. और जितने आपके कॉन्ट्रडिक्टरी पीसेस हैं अभी, जो अभी ऐसा लग रहा है ओ ये एक इंसान बैठा है, तो एक्चुअल में एक नहीं है, ये 100 इंसान बैठे हैं, है ना। तो जब वो हथौड़ा पड़ता है तो वो 100 टुकड़ों में एज इफ कि वो बट गया। अब वो जो 100 टुकड़े हैं जो पहले के जमाने में सीरियल्स में दिखाते थे, जो हा हो राक्षस वाले जो सीरियल होते थे, उसमें दिखाते थे मिथोलॉजिकल सीरियल्स में कि वो जो कटा हुआ सर है वो भी अभी जिंदा है ना, और हाथ भी वो तड़प रहा है और कुछ वो मार रहा है, कुछ कर रहा है। तो ऐसे यू कीप लिविंग, because you are not unified. So your desire will piggyback on somebody else. Yes, because it's not quenched. Yeah, I thought you wanted to
I
share
was
something.
no, actually I was just pulling up something, this time when we did our session on looking from within. So there also I was just trying to pull that. So there was this thing about divine law. How one has to make space for harmony, peace, goodwill, desirelessness, like how one has to make effort to pull it, to bring it in our lives. And then mother had, ended this by saying that if you bring that, that comes to you, right? More love, more harmony, more justice comes. And usually she doesn't say the opposite side, right? But in that she had clearly written that, but in case you're not able to, or if you don't want to, like the one who doesn't care, then it goes without saying that they are attracting ugliness, they're attracting bad will, this, and the life would be a torment. So, matlab, we think that it is harmless, that, oh, I have to go somewhere, I'm thinking कि बस अब वहां जाके I have to consume this, right? इसमें किसी और का क्या जा रहा है? But that's not how it works, right? Like it was very, very strongly worded and clearly said that if you choose this is where you're going. If you choose this is where you're going. Don't fool yourself. At least don't fool yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And this comes again and again. That's why we have so many songs and bhajans talking about preciousness of human life. अब थोड़ा समझ में आती है क्यों कह रहे हैं प्रेशियस ह्यूमन लाइफ, क्योंकि जब आप when you have the body, when you have the causes and conditions in Buddhism, it comes again that it's because of the past karma only that you have causes and conditions, that now you have the ability to practice spirituality. ऐसा भी हो सकता था कि आपके पास ability नहीं होती, but now you have generated those causes and conditions. So let us make use of that and do our best that we can do. So while we are alive, to die to our desires, to sacrifice, as Sri Aurobindo says, all these, what he says, intruders. He says intruders of the spirit, jealousy, ambition, all these, what you were sharing, all these negative things, the ugliest and uglies. To sacrifice it as we put ahutis in the fire, for the growth of the spirit, who we truly are, for the growth of that flame, who we truly are. So to not consider these as our own, but to consider them as intruders which have to be sacrificed. That's where he talks about the true sacrifice. This is the true sacrifice. So we must, I think, whatever life is left, it doesn't matter how many days, how many years, but whatever little is left, we must make use of it and not get distracted. That's why Buddhism says, one of the verses, it says, the supreme uh, practice is a non-distraction. Because from time to time we get distracted. Something else becomes glitter. So let only this be the glitter of life, that let me work on myself and be one drop of poison less in this universe. There we are doing our social, क्या कहते हैं, corporate social responsibility. CSR.
There's also ISR, na, individual social responsibility. फिर
अच्छा, okay.
CSR आता है, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, so anything more here, or shall we go ahead, take the next paragraph? Okay, so if not anything, let's go ahead. Maybe take this last paragraph from the chapter. Yeah, if anyone would like to read, please go ahead. Maybe read all at once, then we can take it slowly.
May I read, Monica?
Yes, please go ahead.
These ideas of dream and illusion are simply results in our still existent mentality of the new poise of the jiva and its denial of the claim made upon it by its old mental associations and view of life and existence. In reality, the Prakriti does not act for itself or by its own motion, but with the self as Lord, for out of that silence wells all this action. That apparent void loses out as if into movement all these infinite riches of experience. To this realization, the sadhak of the integral yoga must arrive by the process that we shall hereafter describe. What then, when he so resumes his hold upon the universe and views no longer himself in the word, but the cosmos in himself, will be the position of the jiva, or what will fill in his new consciousness the part of the ego sense. There will be no ego sense even if there is a sort of individualization for the purpose of the play of universal consciousness in an individual mind and frame. And for this reason, that all will be unforgettably the one, and every person or Purush will be to him the one in many forms, or rather in many aspects of poises. Brahman acting upon Brahman, one Nar Narayan everywhere. In that larger play of the divine, the joy of the relations of divine love also is possible without the lapse into the ego sense, just as the supreme state of human love likewise is described as the unity of one soul in two bodies. The ego sense is not indispensable to the word play in which it is so active and so falsifies the truth of things. The truth is always the one at work on itself, at play with itself, infinite in unity, infinite in multiplicity. When the individualized consciousness rises to and lives in that truth of the cosmic play, then even in full action, even in possession of the lower being, the jiva remains still one with the Lord. And there is no bondage and no delusion. He is in possession of self and released from the ego.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Such a long journey.
But progressive journey.
A progressive journey, right. One should not think that it is a long one. That may create some doubt. Yes.
Yeah. I think if we are making those baby steps in our progress, then even if it's long, it becomes joyous, because you're not defending all your darknesses.
Right.
So, like in Savitri, Sri Aurobindo uses this line, let each day was a pilgrimage to God.
Yes.
That's how we have to live. So then, even if each day is a pilgrimage to God, then we stop asking how long it is. क्योंकि आपको पता है, अगर आप दुनिया में और कहीं नहीं होना चाहते, बस यही होना चाहते हो, तो कितनी भी लंबी है ना, फिर क्या फर्क पड़ता है, right? This part, this last paragraph reminds me again of the Jivan Mukta that Sri Aurobindo talks of, that remaining in the world and yet disinterested in this material existence and yet very much into it. मतलब ऐसा नहीं है मतलब कि तुमने काम करना छोड़ दिया, उल्टा और ज्यादा अच्छे से तुम काम कर रहे हो, क्योंकि तुम्हें काम से कुछ चाहिए नहीं, अपना पर्सनल कुछ नहीं चाहिए. So just because it is divine work which has to be done, you live like a slave, like a instrument of the divine, not even acknowledging that oh I am the instrument of the divine, उसकी भी कोई जगह नहीं है, because there is choicelessness, और कुछ कर ही नहीं सकते आप, यही करना है. And then one can even think of, जैसे ईशावास्य में, you know, that since this is all for inhabitation of the Lord, and one should verily doing works in this life, one should actually be ready to live for 100 years if required for divine work. फिर ऐसा नहीं लगता भाई भगवान उठा ले जल्दी से, you know, बस हो गया मेरा, तो वो ये ऐसे ख्याल नहीं आते, because now you are not living for that suffocated self anymore, जीवन मुक्त. So that's a true liberation. चाह गई चिंता मिटी, मनवा बेपरवाह,
मनवा
जिनको कुछ नहीं चाहिए वो शाहन के शाह, living like a king and yet a slave to the divine. That's the true kingship. So now he, as you know, since this is also in other, maybe at other places life design also, first he, you know, steps by steps he takes us, and in the towards the end he like compiles and gives us the next leap ahead. You know, that's how usually the last paragraphs of each chapter are. They give us the next leap. कैसा ये ठीक है, ये ठीक है, ये ठीक है, but हम यहाँ जाना चाह रहे हैं. You know, ऐसे करके आगे धक्का दे देते हैं. Yes, Chetna, you want to share something? Okay, maybe not. If you want to share, please unmute it. And okay. तो अब जो अभी हम बात कर रहे थे, मन को मृतक जान के मत कीजिए विश्वास, साधु तब तक भय करे जब तक पिंजर में सांस. तो वो किसी भी रियलाइजेशन पे हो सकता है, you know, for a very very long time. So he says these ideas of dream and illusion are simply results in our still existent mentality of the new poise of the jiva and its denial of the claim made upon it by its old mental associations. तो अब old mental associations को deny किया जा रहा है, but अब new वाले को, जो कि अभी भी still है, still existent mentality, one is kind of like this is true, now this is illusion and that is सत्य. अब किसी और को पकड़ लिया हमने, क्योंकि अभी भी मेंटालिटी एग्जिस्टेंट है, मेंटालिटी कहीं डिसअपियर नहीं हो गई. So these ideas of dream and illusion are simply results in our still existent mentality of the new poise of the jiva and its denial of the claim made upon it by its old mental association and view of life and existence. तो जो पुराना व्यू था उसको त्याग के हमने एक नया व्यू ले लिया, है तो व्यू ही. In reality, the Prakriti does not act for itself or by its own motion, but with the self as Lord. In Savitri also and in other place, Mother says that whatever I do it to please the Lord. There is nothing that Prakriti is doing just for herself. That's not happening. वो दिखता नहीं है लॉर्ड का अग्रीमेंट, बट इट इज देयर इन ईच एंड एवरी एक्शन. In reality, Prakriti does not act for itself or by its own motion, but with the self as Lord, for out of that silence wells all this action. तो वो अनुमति जो है वो ऑलरेडी मिल चुकी है एक्शन की प्रकृति को. ऐसा कुछ भी वो नहीं कर रही जो मास्टर जी को पता नहीं है, सुप्रीम जी को पता नहीं है. सब कुछ बता के आई है, लेकिन दिख नहीं रहा कि बता के आई है, क्योंकि मूवमेंट ऐसा मैकेनिकल सा लगता है, पता नहीं लगता कि इसमें क्या अनुमति हो सकती है, बट अनुमति है. Since for out of that silence wells all this action, that apparent void, again apparent void, loses out as if into movement all these infinite riches of experience. दिखने में क्या लग रहा है? void. उसी से तो हम भागते हैं. अकेलापन नहीं सहा जा रहा, अकेलापन नहीं सहा जा रहा, किसको फोन लगाऊं, उसी से भाग रहे होते हैं. और उसी में सब कुछ है अगर उसके पास बैठ जाए. And this is why we talk about being our bestest friend, being best friend to our emptinesses, because that is, it's not a nothing emptiness, it's a pregnant emptiness, if only we can be with it. So for out of that silence wells all this action. That apparent void loses out as if into movement all these infinite riches of experience. To this realization, the sadhak of the integral yoga must arrive by the process that we shall hereafter describe. What then? When he so resumes his hold upon the universe and views no longer himself in the world, but the cosmos in himself. अब आया कॉस्मिक रियलाइजेशन की बात. वो जो सेपरेशन थी कि इन द मदर, द बुक द मदर, जहाँ पे मदर की एस्पेक्ट की बात की गई है, माँ सरस्वती, माँ लक्ष्मी, महाकाली, महेश्वरी. So in one of the talks, I think Alokda was sharing that when one sees perfection somewhere else, perfection in detail, kind of perfection in work, you tell yourself that this is Maha Saraswati acting wherever, in yourself, in others. So everywhere it's that one acting. So the cosmos in himself, आपके में भी जब ब्यूटी है, हार्मनी है, तो कौन एक्ट कर रहा है? महा सरस्वती एक्ट कर रही है. Mahalakshmi is there when prosperity, abundance is there, richness is there. When force is there, then Mahakali is there. When wideness is there, then Maheshwari is there. और दूसरे में भी जब वाइडनेस है तो वहां पे भी महेश्वरी. हर जगह एक ही तो है. So what then when he so resumes his hold upon the universe? तो जब आप वहां से गंगा के गोते खा के आ रहे हो वापस, है ना, रियलाइजेशन का एक लेवल टच करके, what then when he resumes his hold upon the universe and views no longer himself in the world but the cosmos in himself, will be the position of the jiva. अब कैसी पोजीशन होगी? अब किस तरह से वो एक्ट करेगा? और what will fill in his new consciousness the part of the ego sense? अब वो जो गड्ढा हो गया, ईगो सेंस तो चली गई, अब वो जो गड्ढा है उसमें कौन बैठेगा? So that he says now it will be revealed. This is what we will describe hereafter. There will be no ego sense even if there is a sort of individualization. दूर से तो बंदा इंडिविजुअली लगेगा, ऐसा तो नहीं कि बॉडी डिसअपियर हो गई. अभी भी नाम लेंगे तो नाम से भी आप, पासपोर्ट भी सेम है ना. बट देयर विल बी नो ईगो सेंस इवन इफ देयर इज अ सॉर्ट ऑफ इंडिविजुअलाइजेशन. ये जो चीजों को हम पर्सनली लेना शुरू कर देते हैं, हर्ट हो गए हर चीज से, है ना, उसकी कोई जगह नहीं. जहां पे भी ट्रुथ है वहां पे यू वर्क ऑन योर सेल्फ, यू कीप परफेक्टिंग. हर्ट होने की कोई जगह नहीं है. तो नमक पड़ेगा भी तो अब हर्ट नहीं हो रही, उसके नब उससे घाव नहीं है ना. ईगो सेंस यूजुअली एक घाव की तरह होता है हमारे ऊपर. तो अब नमक पड़ता रहे, उस नमक से आपको कोई दर्द नहीं हो रही है, इसका मतलब हील्ड. There will be no ego sense even if there is a sort of individualization for the purposes of the play of universal consciousness in an individual mind and frame. And for this reason, that all will be unforgettably the one. And every person or Purusha will be to him the one in many forms, or rather in many aspects and poises. Brahman acting upon Brahman. Kabir ji in one of the couplets which comes from oral tradition of Pakistan, he says, "Khud kooza gar, khud gile kooza." So he says, you are the clay, you are the one who is making the clay utensils, you are the one who is the clay utensil. तो हर जगह आप ही हो, तो फिर what is the loss? है ना. तो अगर मेरे से 5,000 रुपए किसी ने लूट भी लिए, तो ब्राह्मण ने ब्राह्मण के साथ किया, मैं कहाँ से बीच में आ गया? तो इतना जो हम छोटी छोटी चीजों को लेके परेशान होते हैं, बहुत परेशान होते हैं. कोर्ट केसेस कम हो जाएंगे. सोचो, तूने मेरी कास्ट कार क्यों ले ली तूने, मेरे को टक्कर क्यों मारी, पैसे दे दे, पैसे दे दे, डिवोर्स हो रहा है तो तू मुझे क्लेम दे दे, इतना तो दे ही दे। इतनी सारी चीजें कम हो जाएं अगर हम थोड़ा बहुत काम करें अपने ऊपर। That's why Sri Aurobindo says in the ideal of human unity that the true harmony can only be had if each of us aligns with our true consciousness. उससे पहले क्या क्या करते रहे हम, अपना सिर दीवार पे मारते रहे। Brahman acting upon Brahman. One Nara and Narayana everywhere. And then there is a footnote here. The divine Narayana making itself one with humanity, even as the human Nar becomes one with the divine. तो आपने अपना काम किया, उसने अपना काम किया. Nar becomes Narayana, Narayan becomes Nar. Nar Narayan. In that larger play of the divine, the joy of the relations of divine love also is possible. अब यहाँ पे true harmony की बात आ गई. Because जैसे ही आपके वो नमक जिस पे पड़ता है, वो घाव अगर आपका हटा, तो अब तो मौजी मौज, सनलिट पाथ की जो बात की जाती है, वही तो तकलीफ देता है हमको. जो सावित्री में कहते हैं नारद टू द क्वीन कि भैया ये क्या कंप्लेन कर रही है मैडम आप खुद ही अपनी क्रिएटर है पेन की. यू आर द क्रिएटर ऑफ द पेन. So in that larger play of the divine, the joy of the relations of divine love also is possible without the lapse into the ego self. तो अब वो बार बार पेंडुलम वाला आपने खत्म कर दिया मामला. बहुत कर लिया स्लिपरी स्लोप, हमने बहुत स्लाइड्स कर ली. अब ऐस में दर्द होती है इतनी स्लाइड कर करके, तो आपने वो छोड़ दिया वो काम. कितना करेंगे, है ना, मतलब देयर इज अ लिमिट टू इट. कितनी बार हम स्लिपरी स्लोप्स लेंगे? लिया है, ऐसा तो नहीं है कि नहीं लिए, बहुत लिए. Then there comes a time when we stop going backward. There, without the lapse into ego sense, there is possible in relations purity of divine love. Just as the supreme state of human love, likewise, is described as the unity of one soul in two bodies. The ego sense is not indispensable to the world play. Ego was a helper, ego was a bar, ego is a bar. So, ऐसा नहीं है कि भाई उसको उठा के हम फेंक ही नहीं सकते. Not indispensable, it is dispensable. काम खत्म हुआ, छिलका उठाया, डस्टबिन में डाल दिया. तो छिलका पड़ा रहता है तो मक्खियां आती हैं और वो रॉट करता है, फिर स्मेल करता है. That's what happened with us. जब कोई चीज आउट ऑफ प्लेस हो जाती है ना, उसकी अब जरूरत नहीं है, वो पड़ी हुई है, रॉट कर रही है. The ego sense is not indispensable to the world play in which it is so active. हर जगह उंगली करनी है, हर जगह उंगली करनी है, आदत पड़ी हुई है. पॉइजन की तरह, 1 ड्रॉप ऑफ पॉइजन हम हर चीज में डाल देते हैं. सुंदर काम करेंगे उसमें 1 ड्रॉप ऑफ ईगो सेंस डालना ही डालना है, इत्र की तरह. And it smells then. The whole work, no matter how beautiful, it smells of that ego. You would have seen, whether we are talking about our own works or you have witnessed this at other places. सुंदर काम, बहुत सुंदर सोशल वर्क, 1 ड्रॉप ऑफ मैं डाल दो उसमें, बस बदबू पड़ गई. नाउ इट इज नॉट पोर्टेबल वाटर. जैसे मैं आपको ग्लास दूं और उसमें मैं 1 ड्रॉप ऑफ यूरिन डाल दूं और मैं बोलूं पी लो, अरे 1 ड्रॉप ही तो है, पी लो. Nobody will be able to drink. So that's how it spoils. आप गंगा से पानी लाए होंगे, फिर भी आपका मन नहीं करेगा अगर उसमें 1 ड्रॉप आप पॉइजनस वाटर डाल दो, नहीं करेगा आपका मन. So that's how it falsifies. The ego sense, very important sentence, really. The ego sense is not indispensable to the world play in which it is so active and so falsifies the truth of things. The truth is always the one at work on itself. जैसे मदर कहती हैं, there is only one divine working to realize it in total practical reality. That is true humility, that you are nothing and nothing without the divine. True humility. The truth is always the one at work on itself, at play with itself. अपनी मड़ी में आप मैं खेलूं, खेलूं सहज स्वेच्छा. कबीर जी से. अकेला, अवधूता युगन युगन हम योगी. In that song he says, अपनी मड़ी में आप ही खेलूं, खेलूं सहज स्वेच्छा. There is no other than me. So the one at work on itself, at play with itself, infinite in unity, infinite in multiplicity. And when the individualized consciousness rises to and lives in that truth of the cosmic play, then even in full action, even in possession of the lower being, the jiva remains still one with the Lord. ये है आपका ट्रू स्लेवरी, ट्रू दास्ता, कि आप जा रहे हो बेशक आप शराब के बार में, बट वहां आपकी इच्छा कंज्यूम करने की नहीं है, वहां आप किसी और इंटेंशन से जा रहे हो. So even in the possession of the lower, the jiva remains still one with the Lord. तो वहां भी आप अगर जाओगे तो कुछ लाइट ही वहां पे करके आओगे, वहां आप गंदगी मचा के नहीं आओगे, कुछ डार्कनेस कम करके ही आओगे जहां भी जाओगे. And there is no bondage and no delusion. He is in possession of self and released from the ego. अब ये पॉसिबिलिटी ओनली हमारे लिए तभी क्रिएट होती है, विच इज अवर बर्थ राइट. दिस पॉसिबिलिटी इज अवर बर्थ राइट, बट असेंड तो करें, है ना, क्लाइंब तो करें. ये क्या कह रहे हैं इधर, यहाँ पे था ना, लिव हियर. When the individualized consciousness rises to, अब राइज तो करे ना. अपनी बेसमेंट इतनी पसंद आ रही है, नहीं करना राइज तो फिर नहीं मिलेंगे, रिचेस भी नहीं मिलेंगे, बैठे रहो खाली, मांगते रहो इधर उधर कटोरा लेके. ये हमारी हालत है. When the individualized consciousness rises to and lives, देखो आपने स्टेशन चेंज कर दिया, lives in that truth of the cosmic play. वो कॉन्क्रीट बना लिया आपने अब बाकी चीजों को कॉन्क्रीट बनाने की बजाय, तो उसका फिर बाय प्रोडक्ट तो आएगा ही आएगा. Then even in full action, even in the possession of the lower being, the jiva, आपने ये कीचड़ में कमल वाली बात है बिल्कुल. तो आप कीचड़ में हैं, बट आप कीचड़ को नर्चर की तरह आप यूज कर रहे हैं. अब वो चिपचिपा, आपने अगर कमल की सरफेस देखी, वो चिपचिपी नहीं होती. That is the possibility then. Each difficulty, each challenge, we use it as a raw material. Nothing sticks anymore because you are kind of stuck with the one which is most ultimate and worthy of sticking. वहां पे चिपक गए तो फिर अब बाकी चीजें क्यों चिपकेंगी आपको. एफर्ट है फिजिकल, इट्स एन एफर्ट, पर्सनल एफर्ट. और एफर्ट हम सब लगा रहे हैं. Everybody is putting effort all the time. We are draining our energies, putting so much effort in trying to fix situations our own way. उसकी जगह यहाँ लगा लो, जिद छोड़ दो. इसके लिए जिद्दी हो जाओ, है ना. जहाँ उसको जिद्दी तो होना है, जो जहाँ उसके लिए जिद पकड़ रखी है, जो वहां पे मटेरियल लाइफ में आपको चाहिए, कोई बंदा चाहिए, बंदी चाहिए, चीजें चाहिए, नेम चाहिए, फेम चाहिए, कंट्री चाहिए, जो भी चाहिए, पता नहीं क्या क्या चाहिए होता है उनको, कपड़े चाहिए, शॉपिंग चाहिए. तो उसकी जगह जो उतनी जिद वहां लगा रखी है, अप्रूवल्स चाहिए लोगों से, अगर हम यहाँ जिद लगा दें, सेम जिद, जस्ट उसका चैनल अलग अलग करना है कि चाहे कुछ भी हो जाए, नो, इस चीज को मैंने नहीं छोड़ना. Obedient, she sat to the high command. Obedient, she sat to the high command. Time, life, death, passing incident, होता रहे जो हो रहा है, लेफ्ट राइट लेफ्ट राइट. आपका ध्यान नहीं हटना चाहिए वहां से जहां आपने लगा रखा है. There happens, I believe, for those of us on the path, there happens the true blossoming of the life. सबका फायदा है, आपका भी, आपके आसपास वालों का भी. जिसको अब आप नहीं चिपकोगे, ज्यादा परेशान नहीं करोगे, हो सकता है ज्यादा परेशान भी करो, बिकॉज अगेन थिंग्स एट टाइम्स यू हैव टू पुश थिंग्स इन द राइट डायरेक्शन. परेशानी होती है लोगों को, विच इज यू आर अंडरस्टैंडिंग. ठीक है, दर्द है तो है, बट अच्छी दर्द है. तो आसपास वाले लोगों को ज्यादा कंफर्टेबल भी नहीं रखना चाहिए, उनको परेशान करना चाहिए. एक्चुअली सही डायरेक्शन के लिए परेशान करना चाहिए. क्या तो एनीथिंग ऑन दिस व्हाट वी जस्ट सेड? Many a times we want to take decisions towards the right path, right direction, and what stops us is कि हमारे आसपास वालों को तकलीफ ना हो. तो ये बहुत ही खराब मुझे लगता है चीज है जो हमें छोड़ देनी चाहिए. कि आप ये देखो कि उनको लिमिटेड लाइफ जी के तकलीफ जो हो रही है उसका कोई अंदाजा नहीं है हमें. लिमिटेड लाइफ में कोई खुश नहीं रह सकता, जितना भी ऊपर ऊपर से सेटल लगे बंदा, बट है तो सफोकेटेड, लिमिटेड, ईगो सेंस वाली माइंड लाइफ ना. और दर्द किसको नहीं होता, लेबर पेन किसको नहीं होती? जिसको जन्म देना है नया, उसको लेबर पेन होगी. तो ये कदम जो हम उठाते हैं, उठाना चाहिए. मतलब आई पर्सनली फील as as an Indian and as a female, married, living in family, बहुत कष्ट दिया मैंने लोगों को. जो सोशली करना चाहिए वो मैंने नहीं किया. तो कष्ट देना चाहिए, जो सही डायरेक्शन का कष्ट है वो हमें आसपास वाले लोगों को देना चाहिए. उससे हम भी खुलते हैं सही डायरेक्शन में और दूसरे लोगों को भी सशक्त होने का मौका देते हैं. नहीं तो उनका हैंडीकैप है, भाई मेरे पापा मेरे बिना चाय नहीं पी सकती, तो मैं ना आ नहीं सकती आश्रम. बताओ, ठीक है, चाय पिलाते रहो, उनको भी हैंडीकैप रखो, उनको भी नहीं उठने दो. और बैठ बैठ के लाइफस्टाइल डिजीजेस, ऑल द डिजीजेस दैट वी हैव एक्यूमुलेटेड, बैठ बैठ के चाय पी पी के.
और हमें लगता है कि अगर ये मिथ हम नहीं तोड़ते हैं तो वो सिचुएशंस ऐसी आती हैं, मदर ऐसी सिचुएशंस आपके सामने क्रिएट करते हैं कि आप फिर रो के वो की, और उसके बाद एक बार जब मजा आ गया, वो मिथ टूटा, तो दिखाई दे गया कि हमें लगता था ये मेरे बिना नहीं, अरे ये कैसे होगा, ये कैसे होगा, वो क्लियर हो गया, पर्दा हट गया. एंड इट्स सो यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट बेबी स्टेप्स. तो एक बेबी स्टेप, एक मिथ ये हटा, एक मिथ ये हटा, कुछ सिचुएशंस ने हटाया, और कुछ आपको जब वो इंसाइट मिलती है या जो लाइट मिलती है या जो सुकून मिलता है, तो उससे आपको लगता है कि हाँ ये सब करते रहो, ये सब करते रहो और अपना क्लियर हो.
बिल्कुल.
लाइक जैसे सेशन चल रहा है, अब दूसरे का कॉल आ रहा है, तो कभी लगता था ये नहीं, कॉल बाद में आ सकता है, सेशन नहीं जाना चाहिए.
बिल्कुल.
And I think after some stage, it also happens that योर फ्रेंड्स, योर पीपल, योर भाई ये होना होना है ना, लेट्स मीट टुगेदर, और 2-3, उसके बाद सफोकेशन लगता है सब लोग जाओ, उसके बाद अभी थोड़ी देर मुझे अपना बिल्कुल साइलेंस चाहिए, मेरा अपना जो टाइम है सेशन का या उसका वो चाहिए। और फिर ऐसा लगता है कि साइलेंट करके माइंड को वो जितना उस समय तक इकट्ठा किया था वो सब हटे, क्लीन हो, और हम अपने उसी प्योर स्टेट में आ जाए।
बिल्कुल।
एंड आई
इट्स
थिंक दिस
न्यू
इज
टेस्ट।
नॉट बीइंग एंटी सोशल और
हाँ बिल्कुल
असोशल।
बिल्कुल। आई थिंक वही बात है कि हमारी जो डिस्कशंस है ना यूजुअली, ये जो फैमिली फैमिली के नाम पे हमने जो लगा रखा है ना, ये बिल्कुल बर्बादी है एक्चुअली। मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम्स इट्स बर्बादी, मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम, रियली। कबीर वहां ना जाए ये जहां कुल को हेत,
हम्म
साधुपना न जानते नाम बाप को ले।
हम्म
वो तो कह रही है कि भाई जहां पे तुम्हारे कुल के लोग हैं उससे दूर ही रहो बच के रहो। और क्योंकि मोस्टली कुल कुल के नाम पे और फैमिली के नाम पे हम एक्चुअली में व्हाट वी आर इन्वॉल्व इन इज वेरी लोअर एंड इट इज नॉट बेनिफिटिंग एनीवन। ऐसा भी हो सकता है कि आपकी फैमिली में देयर इज अ कल्चर ऑफ uplifting each other, that can also happen in family, but usually in the name of family and celebration and grouping together, we all really know what all we do. It's not really worth attending.
Absolutely.
Mother did not let children from the ashram go to meet their parents and relatives even in the holiday. मतलब mother suggested that please don't go. मतलब कि जो मैंने बची कुची मेहनत करी है तुम्हारे ऊपर वो सारी मदर would say that actually it reverses. जो मैंने सारा काम किया है मुझे फिर से वो 20 कदम पीछे हो जाते हैं, फिर से मुझे करना पड़ता है। और कितना इमोशनल ब्लैकमेल होता है कि अरे मेरी शादी है, मेरी शादी पे तो नहीं आई थी, इतनी तो पढ़ाई हो गई है। तो एंड टू टेक अ स्टैंड कि शादी पे ना आने का मतलब ये नहीं है कि देयर इज नॉट लव देयर। इफ यू आर नॉट एंगेजिंग इन अ कलेक्टेड ग्रुप गैदरिंग which you don't find worth attending, it does not mean that you are not available. You are available, but you are not available for this crap,
for all these things.
हाँ, you are not available। आपके लिए जरूरी है, आपको मजे आ रहे हैं, आपको मजे आ रहे हैं तभी तो आप हो ना। दूसरों को मतलब इवन लॉजिकली दूसरे लोग क्यों है वहां पे, हमें मजे आ रहे हैं, ठीक है, मेरे को यहाँ मजे आ रहे हैं, बढ़िया। और दूसरे लोग फिर आपसे इंस्पिरेशन भी लेगा कि भैया देख उसको जो जहां मजे आते हैं वो वहां जाती है, तो अब मेरे को यहाँ मजे आने ना बंद हो गए, तो मेरे को भी वहां जाना चाहिए जहाँ मेरे को मजे आते है ना। क्योंकि काफी देर तक हम ऐसी जगह रिपीटेडली जाते रहते हैं जहाँ एक्चुअली में हमें मजे आने बंद हो चुके होते हैं, फिर भी जा रहे हैं क्योंकि ये क्या कहेगा, वो क्या कहेगी, मम्मी क्या कहेंगे, पापा क्या कहेगा, है ना, यही जा रहे होते हैं। बस खुश कर लो फिर मम्मी पापा को। और सबसे ऊपर वाले जो पापा बैठे हैं वो वेट कर रहे हैं, भैया मेरे को कब खुश खुश करेगा। तो खुद भी हिम्मत करनी चाहिए और दूसरों को भी हिम्मत देनी चाहिए, है ना, सही काम के लिए। हाँ, और उसमें चाहे आप एरोगेंट कहलाओ चाहे आप कुछ भी कहलाओ, वो एक पोएम तरु ने बताई थी स्वीकारोक्ति वाली, तो स्वीकार कर लो, ठीक है भैया एरोगेंट, हाँ ओके, वैलिड, बिल्कुल हम कटघरे में खड़े हैं, लेकिन सही काम के लिए आप जितने लांछन लेने अपने ऊपर ले लो। मैंने तो खूब लिए, मैं सच्ची कह रही हूँ, मैंने खूब लिए।
तुम तो व्हाट्सएप का जवाब नहीं देती हो, वो सारी आपकी बकवास चैट जो है पहले पढ़े, अपना टाइम उसमें लगाए, फिर उसके बाद हम आपको, अरे तुम तो पता ही नहीं
ले
चलता है
लीजिए,
कि
ऑल सब ले लीजिए, आप अपने ऊपर सब कुछ ले लीजिए, सब वैलिड है। अगर सही काम हो रहा है तो एक्चुअली में एवरीथिंग इज अलाउड।
तुम तो फेसबुक पे भी नहीं आती हो, तुम तो करती क्या हो, पता नहीं क्या करती हो, नहीं मालूम। एवरीथिंग सब कुछ दिखाने के लिए। अगर मदर्स डे है भाई, एक दिन नहीं दिखाना चाहिए, डीपी लगा लो। तो मुझे थॉट आया कि अब तो बस एक ही मदर डे है मेरे लिए, और वो रोज है, और वही डीपी है।
बिल्कुल
ठीक है, वो मदर है मेरी, वो सब कुछ है, उनको जो मुझे करना है प्रणाम किया, सब कुछ किया, लेकिन अब मदर डे मनाना है तो एक ही मदर डे जो सबकी माँ, वही मना।
Yes, Chetna.
एक चीज पूछनी दीदी. So fortunately, unfortunately, I've also been a lot like this, as you're saying, क्योंकि मुझे भी मतलब लगता है कि इट्स एनर्जी, राइट? आई मीन लाइक अगर मैं किसी फंक्शन पे जा रही हूँ, मेरे को नहीं मजा आ रहा, तो मैं उस पे सिर्फ जा नहीं रही हूँ, मैं उससे पहले भी और उसके बाद भी कितना टाइम और एनर्जी वेस्ट कर रही हूँ in terms of money, energy, all of that which I can put for something better. And also I feel when I go there, जो लोग वहां आए होते हैं वो भी genuine well wisher नहीं होते, उसके उनके मन में अंदर से जेलसी और कंपटीशन ही चल रहा होता है कि इसने ये नहीं किया, उसने वो नहीं किया, उसने तो मतलब तो मेरे को तो इसलिए मजा आना बंद हो गया, क्योंकि मेरे को लगता है कि जब प्यार ही नहीं है मन में तो क्या करना है जाके, उससे ज्यादा प्यार तो मेरे मन में है तुम्हारे लिए मेरे घर पे बैठ के यू नो तो जब वहां प्यार ही नहीं है किसी के, तो मैं क्या करना है मुझे जाके. सो या बट आई वांट टू अंडरस्टैंड कि जब ऐसे डिसीजंस लेते हैं, लाइक इवन फॉर मैरिज, इवन फॉर अदर थिंग्स, लाइक आई वाज क्वाइट स्टबर्न दैट if it does not resonate with my truth, I am not going to go for it, whatever may be. I तो said आपने मेरे को लटकाना है, जलाना है, जो करना है इस बॉडी के साथ आप कर दो, मैं नहीं करूंगी. जो चीज मेरे को रेजोनेट नहीं हो रहा है मैं नहीं करूंगी if it's not resonating with my truth. But what I have felt after a few years is that after a few years, what's also started happening was guilt. Like guilt started collecting when there was like a lot of feedback I got, like from people almost like blaming कि तुम ये नहीं करते, तुम वो नहीं करते. तो so I went into guilt and self doubt, because also I'm not wishing ill to anybody. That is the first thing that I faced and I want to ask. And the second thing also is that there are times like when you are on a low and maybe you want some support from society or from somebody, then there is nobody, because they say tit for tat. They say कि तुम तो नहीं थे तुमने so it's also like that and I think that is the fear out of which all of us are doing all these social obligations, क्योंकि वो लगता है कि जब हमको खुदा ना खास्ता कभी जरूरत हुआ लाइफ में, तो this person will not stand up for us if we don't do something for them right now, like so.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल, बहुत अच्छा चेतना, वेरी गुड ऑब्जर्वेशन. आप एक चीज देखोगे एंड प्लीज रिफ्लेक्ट अलोंग विद मी. जब आप उस चीज को मना कर रहे थे जो आपको नहीं चाहिए, तब पैरेलली आपने कुछ उस दौरान कहीं अपने आप को हायर जगह नहीं लगाया, तभी वो उस गड्ढे में क्या आ गया, गिल्ट. गड्ढा हुआ ना, आप गंद हटा रहे हो, आप कह रहे हो ये गंद नहीं चाहिए, ये वाला गंद नहीं चाहिए. अब आप वहां से तो हटा रहे हो, बट क्योंकि उस चीज को आपने और लॉफ्टियर थिंग्स से नहीं भरा, तो क्या हुआ, वहां पे दूसरा गार्बेज आके बैठ गया. है तो गड्ढा ना. तो ये जो गिल्ट और शेम की सिर्फ तभी जगह है जब व्हेन यू आर नॉट पैरेलली, व्हेन यू आर रिमूविंग द गार्बेज, यू आर नॉट रिहैबिलिटेटिंग योरसेल्फ. अब वो ये कह रहे हैं कि तू शादी कर ले, तू शादी कर ले. आप कह रहे हो नहीं मुझे शादी नहीं करनी, नहीं मुझे शादी नहीं करनी, नहीं मुझे शादी नहीं करनी. भैया तू कर क्या रही है? जब तू शादी नहीं कर रही तो तू कर क्या रही है? ये बहुत जरूरी है. हम क्या होते हैं, हम शादी नहीं कर रहे, चलो ठीक है, वेल सेड कि मेरे से रेजोनेट नहीं कर रहा, शादी नहीं कर रहे. हम तब पैरेलली वी आर एक्चुअली वेस्टिंग अवर टाइम. व्हेन वी आर वेस्टिंग अवर टाइम, गिल्ट कम्स, shame comes. But if parallelly you are using your time for something higher, taking your अपलिफ्टिंग यू, तब जगह नहीं है कि वो गिल्ट और शेम पे आके बैठ जाए। ये चक्कर। तो अगर आप पैरेलली वो भी करना शुरू कर दो कि हाँ वो तो हटा रहे हो जो नहीं चाहिए, समाज जो मुझे कह रहा है कि मुझे ये बनना है, वो समाज कह रहा है मुझे नहीं बनना, ठीक है, आप जो करना चाहते हो उसमें अपना आप टाइम लगाओगे तो फिर गिल्ट और शेम की जगह नहीं बचेगी। जो मदर कहती है ना कि आप जेलसी हटा रहे हो तो यू आर लिविंग लाइक अ वैकेंट प्लेस, उसमें वो वापस आके बैठ जाएगी, है ना, क्योंकि खाली जगह है, खाली एनर्जीज है, रेस्टलेस एनर्जीज, अप एंड डाउन एंड अप एंड डाउन। तो दिमाग में क्या होगा, दिमाग में क्योंकि कुछ हायर नहीं है करने को, तो दिमाग बार बार कहाँ जाएगा, ओ मैंने पापा को मना क्यों किया, ओ मैंने उसको मम्मी को क्यों मना किया, ओ मैंने कितना दिल दुखाया, दिमाग तो खाली बैठा है ना। तो ये होता है। तो इसलिए पैरेलली हमको कल्टीवेट करना है, वी हैव टू फॉस्टर एंड नर्चर अवरसेल्व्स पैरेलली, then there is no place for guilt and shame. And regarding your leaning back on when do you require somebody, for those of us on the path, there is only one leaning back, and that leaning back is on the divine. It is very very clear, very clear. कोई जगह नहीं है यहाँ पे इमोशनल सपोर्ट सेंटिमेंटलिज्म की, है ना, नहीं है, एक्चुअली में नहीं है, which I feel is very genuine and very, I would say we must do this. वहां पे हम ट्रू स्ट्रेंथ, when there is nobody standing with us, that's the time where we gain our true strength. तो अपने आप को अगर मौका ही नहीं दोगे, जैसे ही हल्का सा गिरे कोई आके बैसाखी पकड़ा दे, तो अपने आप को आपने मौका ही नहीं दिया कि अरे मेरे पैर में भी स्ट्रेंथ है ना, बैसाखी की उम्मीद छोड़ दो। इफ यू वांट टू स्टे ऑन दिस पाथ, बैसाखी की उम्मीद छोड़ दो। जब बैसाखी की छोड़ोगे उम्मीद, देन ओनली अ ग्रेटर स्ट्रेंथ विल इंटरवीन। तो ये तभी जो पीपल ऑन दिस पाथ स्पेसिफिकली, और मे बी अदर पाथ्स ऑल्सो, we all are soul travelers. No matter we may be in a sangha, we may be in a community, but we all are soul travelers. ना सिर्फ अपने ही कदमों की आवाज आ रही होती है हमको जब हम भगवान की तरफ चल रहे होते हैं, है ना। तो ये this we have to come to terms with this, and it becomes a happier thing when we actually take joy in it. It's once, there was somebody, a few relatives at home, and they were taking a walk downstairs, and I was only like alone at home, and suddenly a thought came to me that क्या मैं नीचे जाना चाहती हूँ walk करने के लिए, and the thing was that no, I choose to be alone, I choose to be with myself. ऐसा नहीं कि आपने जिद पकड़ लिया कि नहीं हम तो जाएंगे ही नहीं किसी के साथ, वो भी नहीं है, जिद की बात नहीं है, but you have chosen this solitude for yourself. Why? Because in solitude you have a teat-a-teat with your own divine. उसको उससे आप अब नहीं कॉम्प्रोमाइज करना चाहते, है ना। सो वी हैव चोजन, वंस वी हैव चोजन, जैसे सावित्री कह रही है कि मैंने सत्यवान को चूज कर लिया, बस अब मैं नहीं, चाहे उसकी जन्म छोटा है उसका, चाहे कितनी लाइफ है, एक ज्यादा 80 साल जिएगा चाहे 30 साल जिएगा, मेरे को अब सत्यवान ही चाहिए, सो लाइक दैट वी हैव चोजन वंस, एंड देन यू शुड नॉट मेक अ यू टर्न। फिर मजा आता है, अच्छा लगता है।
Thank you, Didi. I don't know if I can ask just one very small thing in continuation with this. Like, so I, when I said no to marriage, I was working, and I have never been career oriented, but I chose a profession that I enjoy, and I worked for those years, and I thought maybe, this will lead to something. But it didn't. Yeah, I mean, it didn't lead to any satisfaction. So I kind of took a break from that. And that is the time when this doubt and guilt and shame, all of that hit me, कि मैंने वो भी नहीं किया मैं कर क्या रही हूँ। Yeah, exactly. So but मुझे ये चीज रिफ्लेक्ट हो रही है जब आप शेयर कर रहे थे कि इट्स ऑल्सो दैट, चाहे मेरा करियर हो, चाहे सराउंडिंग हो, चाहे सब कुछ हो, वो एक ही फ्रीक्वेंसी का था। बेसिकली आई थॉट माई करियर विल लीड मी टू सेटिस्फैक्शन, बट इट डिड नॉट, सो आई लेफ्ट इट। बट वो एक ही फ्रीक्वेंसी का था, और बेसिकली मैं अपना फ्रीक्वेंसी शिफ्ट नहीं कर पाई, बेसिकली दैट्स व्हाई आई टुक दैट ब्रेक। एंड ये होता है कि जब भी मुझे अपॉर्चुनिटी मिलता था फ्रीक्वेंसी शिफ्ट करने का, फॉर एग्जाम्पल टू मूव टू अ न्यू प्लेस और what I resonate with and all that, I was not able to choose that or go ahead with that full fledgedly. Like मेरे पास opportunities आए, but what stopped me is that guilt कि मैं मम्मी को अकेले कैसे छोड़ूं or something like that. Like I almost feel like a caretaker for them, you know. So that also, like that guilt, maybe it's too much responsibility I'm taking in my own head for it or whatever. And so yes, basically yes, I was not able to shift that frequency or fill it up with what really, you know, like choose that and go ahead with that completely. And that is why it was like a half and half, saying no to the things but still being surrounded by that and not being able to choose what I really it is leading me to. Yes.
Yeah, बहुत सुंदर. Yes, you know, you remind me of these lines, सावित्री की. देखो ये आपने शायद पढ़ी हो. Some of us may have read it. She only can save herself.
Save
जब
herself.
क्वीन को बड़ा चिंता हो रही है कि मेरी देखो बेटी बेचारी कितनी दुविधा में पड़ने वाली है और क्या हम कुछ कर नहीं सकते, क्या हम कुछ कर नहीं सकते. तो नारद जी उसको कह रहे हैं कि भैया बीच में मत आओ, है ना, बीच में मत पड़ो. तो यही हम सबकी कहानी है, किसी को भी बीच में नहीं पड़ना. So in her she only can save herself and save the world. O queen, stand back from that stupendous scene. Come not between her and her hour of fate. Her hour must come, and none can intervene. Think not to turn her from her heaven-sent task. Strive not to save her from her own high will. Thou hast no place in that tremendous strife. Thy love and longing are not arbiters here. Leave the world's fate and her to God's sole guard. Even if he seems to leave her to her lone strength, even though all falters and falls and sees an end, and the heart fails, and only are death and night, God given her strength can battle against doom, even on a brink where death alone seems close, and no human strength can hinder or can help. Think not to intercede with the hidden will. Intrude not twixt her spirit and its force, but leave her to her mighty self and fate. ये हमारे लिए भी चेतावनी है और दूसरों के लिए भी चेतावनी है. To let us go through our unfolding in life and not keep giving each other these besakis that we try to give, because they are as if an obstacle between us and God. She only can save herself. दूसरों को बचाने की चिंता हो रही है ना, या फिर अपनी खुद की चिंता हो रही है. अपनी खुद पे भी हमें अपने खुद पे ही आना है. She only can save herself. आप खुद ही अपने लिए रिस्पॉन्सिबल हो, आप खुद ही अपने आप को सेव कर सकते हो. Nobody else can intervene. She only can save herself and save the world. So when we totally become responsible for ourselves and take the onus on ourselves, then actually in parallel we actually save the world. All the people we are trying to bring to an alignment. को हटा रहा है. Stand back from that stupendous scene. मत आना बीच में, साइड पे हो जा थोड़ा सा.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. अब ये सोचो कि कितनी अच्छी बात है कि जब बच्चे बड़े हो रहे होते हैं, भला वो भगवान का कि कुछ ऐसी कंडीशनिंग है कि हम उनको रोकते नहीं है जब वो गिरते हैं. नहीं तो ऐसा हो कि ओए मेरा बेटा गिर गया, मेरा बेटा गिर गया, उठा लिया उसको गोदी में. And we very well know that then children have troubles in proper walking if we keep them too much in lap, or not let them fall and rise up again, and not let them fall and rise up again. There was a book called The Continuum Concept. Long back I read a few pages of it. तो उसमें उन्होंने experiment किया how in red Indians, or people in tribal communities, how they have an inherent faith in the universe that they are taken care of. So their children are more robust than children, for example, in metropolitan cities. So उन्होंने experiment किया, that lady who was doing an experiment. So there was a lady from a city with her child who was crawling, not yet able to walk. And then there was this lady who was doing this research on this tribal community. So they were against a glass door. So you are in a glass door. वहाँ पे वो दोनों ladies हैं. Outside there is a swimming pool, and there is water in that swimming pool, and the crawling child is left around that swimming pool, unattended, no guard, nothing. And the idea was to see that whether the child has inherent instincts that he will be safe, or maybe jumps into the water and gone, something like that. So the lady who was doing research on tribal people, she had to actually push her aside, that please stand back. Let him crawl, and let us see what's going to happen. And that child, untrained, did not know that place before. He did not fall. He went going to the edges, then crawling here and there. He explored a lot, but he knew where he had to go and where he does not have to go. और हम क्या करते हैं, हम अपने बच्चों को cripple कर देते हैं with too much instructions, and not letting them make their own mistakes, especially in these days, when we have lesser and lesser children. We cripple our children. And here, in front of our house, there is a school. There are two schools. One is a private school, and then there is one is government school. आप देखोगे प्राइवेट स्कूल के बच्चे डोर पे छोड़े जा रहे हैं, हम छोड़ के आ रहे हैं बच्चों को हाथ पकड़ के, भाई बहुत सारा ट्रैफिक है रोड पे, गेट तक छोड़ के आ रहे हैं. जो गवर्नमेंट स्कूल के बच्चे हैं, वो छोटे बच्चों को हाथ पकड़ के, बड़े बच्चे ने छोटे बच्चे का हाथ पकड़ा हुआ है, एंड कभी कभी साइकिल पे भी एक को पीछे बिठाया हुआ है, एंड दे आर ट्रेवर्सिंग थ्रू द रोड्स फुल ऑफ ट्रैफिक. They know how they have to steer their way across.
Not only this process of making dependent these children starts from very early. छोटा सा बच्चा है, और जिस समय उसको सेंसेस अपनी उंगली से, टच से, सारी चीजों का कॉग्निटिव डेवलपमेंट हो रहा होता है, उस समय यू ब्लॉक द रोड. उसको ग्लव्स पहना दिए कि वो मुंह में उंगली डालता है, फिर इन्फेक्शन होता है, फिर ये होता है. आपने उसको सारी चीजें, जो सेंसेशन है, हगीज है, आप कंफर्ट को यूज करिए, ये नहीं कहते हैं, लेकिन हर समय जब वो पहने रहता है तो जो सेंसेशन, फिर हम कहते हैं कि आजकल के बच्चे इनसेंसिटिव हो गए. आपने वो जो सेंसेशन का रास्ता तो बचपन से ही बंद कर दिया उनको.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल.
एंड इनफैक्ट जो चिल्ड्रन है उनको ये डेप्थ का रहता है. आप देखिए कि बेड के किनारे पर आएंगे, वो चिल्लाते रहेंगे, लेकिन कभी भी वो, क्योंकि वो जो उतरते नहीं है, क्योंकि वो उनको इनहेरेंट सेंस ऑफ डेप्थ होता है. लेकिन हम लोग अपनी एंजाइटी में नहीं सोचते, गिर जाएगा, तकिया लगा दो यहाँ पे, ये कर दो, वो कर दो, हम पैर से बांध देंगे, रस्सी बांध देंगे, कितनी सारी चीजें करते हैं हम लोग. व्हाट इज द नेम ऑफ दिस बुक? कॉन्टिन्यूम एंड
It's called The Continuum Concept.
Continuum Concept.
It's a very thin, small book. At one point of time, I had to stop reading it because the things, present in that book, they were so radical कि मेरा actually जीना दूभर हो रहा था अगर मैं रहूं इसी समाज में और चाहूं वो चीजें implement करना. So I had to stop reading that book. But this thing I remember, what I read a few pages. It was giving me too much of pain living in the same world.
And I am not doing it.
It was giving me pain, so I stopped reading it. Yeah. So we can end here, the release from the ego. So everybody is released from the ego now
Release of the ego.
after the chapter. Yeah, and next chapter is really now realization of the cosmic self. But I think we can also go back again to Savitri and take a few
Yes, we should do that.
lines ahead. Yeah. Okay. So any last comments? Anyone?
Reading Savitri itself is a joy and process of purification. So most of the questions, most of the doubts which we ask here are answered during the session or the period of time.
Yeah. And so earlier I was using Shraddhavan's English. So she talks about, explains English of Savitri. And I still will continue to use those as a background. Plus MP Pandit's commentary on Savitri, that also I was using. And but Shraddhavan's reading of Savitri is something very beautiful, I found. So when one is driving, for example, he reads very slow and with a lot of depth. So there are just reading by Shraddhavan. So when you type Savitri reading Shraddhavan on YouTube, then you get a lot of cantos he has read.
There is one
It's
more.
beautiful.
Yes, Explorations in Savitri by Alokda and Narad.
Yes, yes.
They have also taken page by page, like 2 pages from 80 to 82. They will discuss about all those things. It's very interesting. And then read certain lines also and get the meaning and the deeper meaning of those lines.
Yeah.
Exploration since 7 years back. There's a
Yes.
series on YouTube. I don't know till when it is there.
No,
But
they are there. They are still there. Yes.
they are there. They are there. So what I do, I read Savitri first, all those lines, and then open that episode or the number, and then read that again. And Alokda is reading line by line, and both of them are sharing their good experiences.
So I think we have to just go by our own intuitive sense. At times we may be wanting to read by our own sense. I think we have to honor that and not wanting to listen to commentaries. And at times we may be wanting a commentary. So at each time our need may be different. And whatever is the need, we must honor it. Okay, so we can maybe take our moment of silence before we end. Sharing collective merit, all the sentient beings, near, far, may our hearts be full, mind simple, uncomplicated, and may we have lots of joy and progress in our life. And may we be able to make our daily ways a pilgrimage to God. Thank you.